Hello and welcome to CityBeat inside Palo Alto. I'm PA Moore. This is a great show today. We're going to find out how the SWAT team does their work with the Palo Alto Police Department. And we'll learn about how the city is working for you with street resurfacing and a gas main replacement. And we'll see some of the cultural side of Palo Alto with programs at the library and the Arts Center. Do stay with us. This is the old Sun Building on 901 San Antonio. It's being used for demonstrations for fire and police. With me is Scott Savage, an officer in the police department with Palo Alto. Scott, tell me, I see you're all suited up in your SWAT gear. Just
Right.
What is a SWAT team?
A SWAT team is a small tactical unit. Most police agencies have them. It's made up of police officers that have other duties during the day. But when a critical incident develops, barricaded subject, hostage rescue, a school shooting, dignitary protection, something that's over and beyond what a normal police response can handle, they'll send a SWAT team. City of Mountain View and Palo Alto have a joint SWAT team. We've got 24 operators, 24 police officers on it, all cross-trained. They get more training, have to run faster, shoot better, do all those things that what a police officer does, about 1,000% more, and highly trained, highly motivated, highly disciplined. We can bring teamwork, more equipment, more training, and really a go-get-it kind of attitude to a critical incident to try and resolve it safely.
But, why would a city like Palo Alto, population 60,000, need a SWAT team?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the city is very safe, and it is a low crime rate, and I like to take a little bit of credit for that. I think the police department does a good job of quelling those things. Believe it or not, we've had those man with a gun calls. We've had those critical incidents develop in town. We don't make a spectacle of those things, and we resolve most of them without any kind of violence, without any kind of force being used, so you never hear about them. It's not sensational. The city of Palo Alto has a SWAT team because if we didn't, and a critical incident develops in your house and my house, and our neighbor needs help, and a madman's in there, or someone's under the influence of drugs and they've taken a hostage, or a dignitary comes to visit one of all the facilities we have here in town, we need a small core group of officers that can handle that. When the situation's out of control beyond a normal police response, these small core group of officers can be sent to go handle it. We know it'll be done safely.
That's so true. Even though Palo Alto is small, it's a high-profile town, and that makes a difference. Now, tell me, you've got this, enormous amount of equipment that you're wearing. Couldn't you maybe start with your helmet and move on down and explain to our viewers?
Yeah, everything we're wearing looks intimidating, and it's black and it looks like military fatigues, and I tell you, that's not by accident. One of our theories we have is that if we can scare someone out of fighting because we look big and bad and mean, then we win. In other words, if we can come in and we've got 24 guys dressed like this, and we come in like we mean business and we know what we're doing, we can go up against a big bad guy that may be better armed, outgunning us and all that type of stuff. He may give up just for fear's sake. And if we never have to fire a shot, never have to use force against him, he goes home and we go home, well, then we won. But to talk about this equipment, first of all, it's very heavy, so we've got to be in good shape to carry it. But just starting up at the top, goggles to protect our eyes. Normal police officer's not going to have that. When we're moving a critical incident or deploying diversionary devices like you'll see later, we need that to protect our eyes. A Kevlar helmet to stop bullets. Your normal police officer's not going to have that handy with them. A radio mic so I can keep my hands, on tools or weapons or what I need to do and still be able to talk hands-free. This vest here carries all of my personal equipment. I've got water because we're going to be in a prolonged incident and heat. We can sustain ourselves. We don't have to give up and be rehabbed. We've got other little tools like knives and door stops to keep doors from closing behind us, ammunition and other of our conventional like pepper spray types of things. This weapon we have here is called an H&K MP5. It looks scary and I think it's meant to do just that, but really what it is, a very accurate weapon. A weapon that you've seen the weapons that police officers carry on their hip, more of a defensive gun, more of a close range type of thing. This can allow us to back off where it's safe, to say to the person far away, you know what, we have you, please give up, and if you don't, we could handle it. Has special sighting equipment, lights on it, carries more ammunition, more accurate weapon system. And we have better ballistic protection, meaning bulletproof protection under here. I've got an armor plate on here that weighs 25 pounds. It's heavy, but it'll stop rifle rounds. Your standard police officer doesn't have that. This military type fatigue we have is really a subdued urban color. Some science says that will kind of blend us into urban environments. Not a huge concern of ours, but if we can maybe not give the guy a target to shoot at, not be a bright color, we'll I'll wear it,
Sure.
And then conventional boots, knee pads, and other safety equipment just to protect our hands and whatnot.
Yeah, okay. Well, this obviously is fascinating stuff. How would a resident, just your normal resident of Palo Alto, learn more about SWAT teams?
Well, I take great pride in educating citizens about this stuff because I don't want people either not knowing anything about us or having misconception about us, what they see on TV. Who knows what they see on TV? I don't want that, and I take personal ownership of that. So what we've done is we teach a Citizens Academy. Myself and a guy named Agent Wayne Bennett is my partner. What we do is we teach a Citizens Academy. We bring all this stuff out. We let people handle it. We let them see that we're not some kind of macho, kind of guy or anything like that. And we really just police officers trying to do the best job we can. But if a citizen really has some questions, really want to learn about it, please call us down at the police department, enroll in the Citizens Academy. You're going to get many weeks of not only learning about the SWAT team, but all kinds of stuff in the police department.
Oh, wow. That is really fascinating. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Scott. Street repair is a big deal in Palo Alto. With me is Murdo Nicholson. He's an engineer for the city, and he decides whether a street needs to be redone. Murdo, what are the criteria when you look at a street to decide whether it needs to be resurfaced?
Well, we look at two criteria. First, we look at the base of the road and the surface of the road. If the surface is showing minor flaws, we'll just do some maintenance work, and that usually extends the life of the pavement a good 5 to 10 years. If the base is failing, there's dips in the roadway, and if a certain percentage of the roadway has these failures, we'll come and we'll completely resurface the entire street from one end to the other.
Now, tell me, obviously there's a disruption to business and residents. I always thought that concrete had to, what they call cure. What's the curing process nowadays? It must be faster.
Well, it could be faster. We want to recommend you try and get 72 hours of curing time in. There's several methods you can use for curing. You could use cure in place with the forms still there to protect the concrete. You can remove the forms and put barricades around it. Or you can put in accelerated mixes that cause the concrete to cure at a much more rapid rate, allowing you to open a road to traffic within 4 to 8 hours, which we use in the downtown quite a bit.
Well, that was my next question. Which of these methods do you use? And so what are the circumstances you would use one or the other?
I think we prefer to try and get 72 hours in on residential streets.
Sure.
Downtown Palo Alto University, definitely give an accelerated mix.
Okay.
Return it back to traffic right away.
Okay. Now, Palo Alto is such a sustainable city. We want to do things that are environmentally friendly, that are economically viable. What changes have happened in the way of we resurface streets that would allow us to still maintain our claim that we're sustainable?
Well, a new green technology in the city in terms of cement is we've been using fly ash, which is a waste byproduct from coal-powered fuel plants or power plants back east in Texas. You can use this material in concrete, and it will create a much greater strength of the concrete in its lifespan.
So that's a new word for me, fly ash. Well, how could
Fly ash.
Yeah.
It's called the pozzolanic reaction. That's a big word there.
I'll stick to fly ash.
Okay.
How would a resident get more information about the city's resurfacing projects?
They can come to the Public Works Engineering website and click on Street Maintenance website.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Murdo.
You're welcome.
Laurie Hastings and I are going to be discussing teen services here at the main library. Laurie, I understand this is a new program. What was the initial precipitating event, as we say in science?
As they say in science. Well, we have a new director here at the library, Paula Simpson, and she came in, and over the past few months she's been assessing the situation and getting a feel for the library and the community, and she's been making some new initiatives here at the library. And one of the areas that she felt was really lacking in terms of library service was the area of teen services. She felt that this was a really underserved or unserved population in our community, and she wanted that to be addressed, and I was brought on board to start to address those needs.
Well, then specifically, what would be the teen services that would be offered, as opposed to the difference between elementary and high school? So the age group and the services specifically.
The age group that we're dealing with or addressing right now is the 11 to 15-year-old, the middle school student. That is a very special age developmentally. These kids are different than elementary school students. Obviously, they're in a different stage of life than young children and adults. They have special developmental needs that are not being addressed by the library or have not been addressed by the library. So we are trying to focus on that special period of time, that special age grouping right now, with both collection development and special services that meet their needs, and ultimately in the future to carve out a space here in the main library that is appropriate for them and their needs.
So basically this middle school group then would require some assistance. So do you run the program, or who's going to be helping?
Well, here at the main library, I am the person that's the leader in providing services to teens. I also work with a colleague, Deborah Ann Thonison, here at Maine. And at Mitchell Park, there is a librarian, Mary Ann Young, who's addressing their needs over there. Since we don't have a history here at Maine of serving teens, it's been always an adult library here at Maine. This is a new initiative here. So Deborah Ann Thonison and I are going to be addressing this age group.
And so if kids or their parents want to get more information, how's the best way of finding out about the services?
Well, there's really a variety of ways. They could call me here at the library, they could send me an email, or they could visit the library's website, and all three avenues will provide them with more information. But of course, I love to speak to people, I love to speak to parents, I love to speak to kids, so anytime they would like to drop by, that would be wonderful too.
Okay. Thanks so much, Laurie.
Thank you, PA.
Greg Scobie is a senior project engineer with the City of Palo Alto. Greg, tell me, why do we replace gas mains?
We replace gas mains when they reach the end of their useful life. We have a material that we're specifically targeting. We started in '91 and we're going to finish it by 2008. It's about 85 miles of the material out of a 200-mile main system. We're talking about in the neighborhood of 60% of the system. No, I've got my math wrong. It's not quite 60. It's less than half. But we've replaced about 60% of it, and we have about 40% left to go.
So basically, we're looking at systems that are like 50 years old by now.
The portion that we're replacing is in that time frame. We have other portions of the system that are reaching 100 years old, but they're steel materials that have performed a lot better than this plastic we're replacing.
Well, then that means there must be some technological advances in how we do replacement. Can you discuss some of those?
Definitely. What we see in the background, or you will see in this video, is we're doing directional drilling. We used to do open cut type methods where a backhoe would just go down the street and open it up, but we found that it's much cheaper due to pavement restoration costs to directionally bore. And there's also been advancements in the material. The material we're installing now is polyethylene, and it's a very long life material. It should last longer than the natural gas in the United States.
What? The pipe will last longer than the supply of gas?
That's correct.
Oh, that's not very reassuring that we're running out of gas.
We're talking 150-year life on the pipe, so there should be that much gas.
Well, all right, I won't be here, but tell me, how do you use the GPS, the Global Positioning System?
We're just implementing global positioning systems to create record drawings so that we'll be able to tell sometime in the future exactly the location of the pipe. We're going with a very high accuracy survey grade type equipment that will tell us plus or minus a centimeter what the location of the pipe is, and it's not reliant on any surface features, so that we're not measuring off curbs or from something that could change.
Yeah. Well, now, why don't you just lead us and the viewers through the process? How do you start when you're doing a gas replacement, and then what are the steps?
Well, one of the first things in the design phase is to figure out what's underground right now. And we will have already figured out the size of the facilities to replace. But what we do is we do a layout out in the street and we try to see what all the other utilities are. Then we will establish an alignment down the street, and once that alignment's been defined, then we'll go through and pothole all the existing utilities and find out exactly what's going to be in conflict and find a window of opportunity for installing the new main. Once the potholing is complete, then we will start with directional drilling, and we will establish a borehole on the given alignment, both vertical and horizontally. Once we've established that borehole, we will attach the pipe and pull it back through what we've established as a hole.
Okay. So now we've done the borehole, we've done the drilling, we've pulled the pipe through. What's the sort of repair and finishing up afterwards?
Well, the next step, once the main's installed, is to install the services, and that's when we come onto the customer's yard, and we will have some disturbances around the gas meter. We will directionally drill in the gas service also. We'll connect the service to the main. Once all that's in place, then there's an air pressure that's required, air pressure test. And once the air pressure test is successfully completed, we'll go through and we'll purge the air out with natural gas, and then we'll start transferring individual customers over onto the new system. Once that transfer is complete, then we will abandon the old mains and we'll come back in, repave the street, and restore all the surfaces to pre-construction levels.
So I'm a resident, I live on this street. What kind of disruption am I going, and how do you let me know?
Well, one of the first things you're going to see from us is you're going to see paint marks on the street. But by that time, you should have already received a letter. We send a letter out to all affected customers about 30 days prior to the start of our contract. Then we'll send a 14-day letter, a 7-day letter, and the contractor will come out and actually do door hangers before construction starts. But the first thing they'll see is marks on the street that looks like graffiti, but really what that is, it's underground service alert markings that tell us what the other utilities are. Then the next step would be a saw cutting unit will come out and they'll start saw cutting the pavement. Then you'll see backhoes appear that'll start removing the pavement with vacuum trucks similar to the one that's behind us, removing the spoils out of the ground. Then you'll see directional drilling equipment show up, traffic control, and you'll see the yellow pipe out on the street.
So basically I have absolutely no excuse for not knowing, but if I needed more information, whom would I call?
You could either call into Utilities Engineering 566-4501, or you could call Operations 496-6932. And these are all water, gas, wastewater operations and engineering with the city.
Okay, thank you so much. Signe Mayfield and I are going to be talking about the shows at the Art Center. Signe, I understand you've got 2 dynamic new shows. Why don't you describe those?
Actually, we have 3.
Wow.
And our first exhibition is called Revisit the Mirror, Self-Portraits Through Time. It features work by artists who return to self-portraiture over and over, but they really do it with a purpose. It's really a strategy to represent something larger in the human condition or some kind of issue. And I think that they're very powerful. Everybody loves to look at people, and this is a great opportunity just to have that opportunity to stare at what artists look like, how they see themselves, or the stories they make up about themselves. I mean, we're all self-narrators when you get down to it. There's another exhibition called Dominic Damari, Other Selves, and it features watercolors of the artist, by the artist, created over a 7-year period. He's a California artist who's the son of a Sicilian-born fisherman, but in fact, the whole series was completed in Switzerland. And it's really magical, and in his work, he's truly a self-fabulist. The third exhibition is called To History's Mirror, and it features watercolors and mixed media works by Ian Everard and Hannah Hanna, who are 2 artists living in Santa Cruz, California. And they have worked either from media photographs or from antiquarian finds, black and white photographs, a very compelling exhibition. So it's a wonderful opportunity to see 3 very different exhibitions.
Different yet thematically linked in some ways,
That's
too.
correct.
Now, I see that the exhibits are now being displayed. So what's the process? Must not be fun. It looks like a lot of hard work.
Right. We've taken 3 weeks to create these exhibitions. And the one thing that you should know about an exhibition is that when you walk in, you really shouldn't have a sense that this is a beautiful installation design. What each installation does is to create a frame in which a work can come to life, or it can come into conversation with other works. And it's a really long process. A lot of exact measurement, as you can see in the background. Mia Patterson is trying to find the same center for each piece. And There's a lot that has to do with framing or with preparing the works just to go on the wall, moving them. It's a lengthy process, but rewarding. That's all I can say.
I'm sure, Signe. Well, thank you so much. Now I'd like to turn to Linda Craighead.
Great.
Linda Craighead, our director here at the Arts Center. Linda, tell me, this being the start of the academic year, what are some of the things that are going to be happening in the future? We've heard about these 3 shows.
Well, the very important thing for us as a visual arts center is to educate the visitors who come to the center, and we educate them through these great exhibitions that Signe curates as a visually educating the visitor. And then we have our whole series of classes and workshops, both for adults and children, where they can actively take part in the making of art. So coming up this fall with these exhibitions, we have some wonderful presentations. And just so that I don't get any of them wrong, we've got Robert Flynn Johnson, who is the curator at the Achenbach at the Palace of Legion of Honor. And he's coming in December to give a talk. And we have Jonathan Barbieri, who's one of the artists involved in this exhibition. He lives in Oaxaca, Mexico, and he's coming, and he will give a walk through an informal gallery talk for our visitors, and that's in November. And then we've just started a wonderful new program for adults, which is called Art Dialogues, and it is an adult tour program. It was started by Judith Kays, who is a wonderful, wonderful volunteer, and she has a great group of people together, and people, either as individuals, visitors as individuals, or in groups, can come to the Art Center and can schedule a tour. We also have some set dates where they can call and come in, and it's a very wonderful, the docents are really superb. They're really, Judith has them really educated to the exhibitions. It's a very high level of touring through the exhibition, so that's available, as well as our great children's programs, Project Look, that brings the schools, brings classrooms from all the schools in Palo Alto and the surrounding areas, and the kids come in with their teachers, they tour the exhibitions, and then they go into the Project Look studio and actually do a hands-on activity related this fall to portraits. So the kids are going to be doing their own self-portraits. So there's always a lot going on, a little bit for everyone. No matter if they just want to come and view an exhibition or if they want to go into the studios and, you know, get paint on their hands or clay under their fingernails. Yeah.
Well, given all these activities, what's the best way for a resident to get more information about the Art Center?
Well, the Palo Alto Art Center Foundation, who is an advocacy group for the Art Center, they have a website, which is paacf.org. Our website is also Palo Alto Art Center on the city website, so information can come through those 2 sources. You can call the Art Center and get information at any time, and if you want to be on our mailing list and get either email alerts or our announcements, which we do with every exhibition, we will mail them out. So there are lots of ways to get information.
Okay. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you.
Minka van der Swag and I are going to be talking about family resources and the new ambassador program. Minka, tell me first, what is family resources and what do they do?
Right. Family Resources is a collaboration between the City of Palo Alto, nonprofit service providers, and the community. What we are is the families in the community can turn to us for information about education, child care resources, disability resources. They need help finding a counselor, healthcare provider, or even information if they're having a hard time and need help with providing rental assistance or food. We have a wide variety and diverse information that they can turn to look for resources that can help them in a time of need.
So we have a one-stop shopping place in that I can go to you and find out all about these social services. But now there's something very special called the Ambassadors Program.
That's correct. The Ambassador Program was our way of getting information about family resources out to the community. So what we've done, and this is actually our 6th year of the program, we have an opportunity. We gather a wide variety of the community together. For instance, nonprofit service providers, active community members, neighborhood leaders, members of faith communities, and city employees. And they come together for our training program. So what we do is we have 6 months of one morning a month of training. And these trainings features professionals in the fields of nonprofit services and also information about city programs. So these are great meetings. They're fun, fast-paced, they're interactive. And the great outcome of the program is not only do the participants gain information about these resources, but they develop connections with each other they could use later on. Also, since they have the pulse of what's happening in the community, they could let us as family resources know the new needs or trends of services that we need to be looking to gather resources on.
So the good news here is it's a really wide networking process. Now, how would I get to be, well, no, tell me first, what's a success story about the ambassador? So maybe let's personalize it a little.
Sure. One of the success stories that I can remember is actually a participant from our city staff that works at the Children's Theater. She was working there on a weekend when most city facilities are closed, and she had a person coming in that came to know an elderly woman that didn't have a place to stay. And she was really looking for shelter for her. So she was able to bring the woman to our desktop kiosk, and that's one of the ways that we share information about resources that the ambassadors get. And she was able to have the lady look through the binder, and she was able to write down a whole variety of shelter resources for this older woman. And she said she was going to put her in a hotel at her own cost that night, but be able to call the shelters the next day, and she was really grateful.
I understand the idea about the kiosk is that family resources is wherever you are, and that these kiosks are everywhere. Can you speak a little bit about the locations?
Sure. We have kiosks in over 50 locations or even more in the community, and they're basically wherever an ambassador is to be able to guide the person through it. So it's at city facilities, libraries, it's at school offices, it's in churches, synagogues, in the community, and even just an active community member in their kitchen, if they're kind of like we're the hub of where the their neighborhood comes to for help. So it's really, the key to the program is really neighbors helping each other and everybody in the community working together for the well-being of the entire community.
Oh, what a wonderful idea. And tell me, how would people get more information about joining this upcoming ambassadors training?
Oh, I'd love to tell you. The next session starts on October 20th. And as I said, it's for 6 months, and we're still looking for members to participate. So if anyone is interested in just learning more about resources and how they can help the community, they can give me a call.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Minka.
You're welcome.
Next July, Palo Alto will be going to single-stream recycling. That means all your recyclables, your bottles, your cans, your metal, your paper, all go in one recycling cart, the wheeled cart. So what we'll be doing is asking you this October what size carts you'd like to have, so we can order them and we'll get the right number that we need. We do have a standard service, which will be the 64-gallon for recycling. That will be the blue cart. And then you'll get a green cart, a 96-gallon, for your yard trimmings. If those sizes don't work for you, that's fine. We are giving you choices, and that's what we'll be asking you about come October. I'll be sending out a survey form, and I'll give you the choices that you can have. Now, we have display carts set up throughout the city for you to come and look at, so you can see what fits your needs firsthand. You can check it out, look inside. There's 5 locations throughout the city, here at the main library on Newell, the downtown library, the College Terrace Library, Mitchell Park Community Center, and Fire Station number 5 on Arastradale Road. If you have any questions, please call the recycling program at 496-5910. This is Wendy Hediger reminding you to reduce, reuse, recycle, and buy recycled.
Thanks for watching CityBeat inside Palo Alto. And special thanks to Justin Atkin, our videographer, and the Media Center for their fine assistance. Remember, if you have any questions or comments about the show, be sure to send them to the email address listed at the end of the credits. See you next time.